We'll start with Isiah. They said this was one of the strongest sentences the judge has ever dealt for a juvenile. Can you just walk me through that sentencing and everything that went on?
Yes. This actually was the first juvenile murder case for a 13-year-old defendant in the 24 years I've been here. So once they're 14, they can be bound over and tried as an adult. So this was the first case where bind over was not an option in a murder case, which is why you have the judge issuing the greatest sentence that she's ever imposed. So in this case, the juvenile, the shooter was 13 years old, not subject to bind over. But we did request that the court designate him a serious youthful offender, which meant in this case she gave him the sentence of up to the age of 21 in the Department of Youth Services based upon our agreed plea, negotiated plea agreement. And then the serious youthful offender designation was discretionary, so she relied upon all of the evidence as well as a psychological evaluation conducted prior to the sentencing in order to decide whether or not he should get a suspended adult prison term, otherwise called a blended sentence. And so because she found that he was a serious youthful offender and designated him as such, the only sentence that she could give him was a life term with the possibility of parole after 15 years. So that's the only sentence available for a murder charge like this.
And then for Boykins, 1 year, obviously he just helped with things. Did you feel that that was a fair sentencing, and could you walk me through that case as well?
Yes, so Michael Boykins was originally charged with complicity to the aggravated murder. However, during the process of preparing both of those cases for trial, we decided it was in the best interest of the case to allow him to plead to reduced charges. There was some difficulty proving Michael's involvement in the murder itself, but he did admit that he was there when it happened and that he helped get rid of the weapon. So he was charged with obstruction of justice for lying to the police initially and tampering with evidence for his involvement in getting rid of the weapon. He was sentenced to 2 6-month commitments to the Department of Youth Services, which for a juvenile, it's a minimum of 6 months up to your 21st birthday. And that is the only sentence available for any felony 3, 4, or 5 level. And those are to be served consecutively for a period of minimum of 1 year in the Department of Youth Services. But his actual commitment depends upon his behavior while he's in there.
And do you feel that 1 year is an appropriate time length punishment for Mr. Boykins?
For these charges, yes. That is the only possible DYS commitment. It's certainly better than him getting just probation. And very often the prosecutors have to make difficult decisions about securing the cooperation of witnesses. And certainly Michael was a necessary witness in proving the case against Isiah.
Was there a sense of satisfaction or maybe justice had been served amongst the victim's family in attendance?
Well, there were a number of family members in attendance both yesterday and today, and some of them may have been less satisfied with this sentence than others, but overall, no time is enough to make up for the loss of their granddaughter, their niece, their cousin, their daughter. But I hope that these sentencing hearings were the beginning of a new phase in their lives, maybe a little bit of closure, even if they'll never get her back.
This basically wraps things up, correct? There's nothing more to go on with as far as this case, right?
Correct. Assuming that they both serve their sentences, the only thing that could happen in the future now for Isiah, because part of the negotiated plea agreement was that he will not ask for early release and the court will not grant early release. But in the event that he would commit a new felony or offense of violence while he's in the Department of Youth Services, it's possible that we could come back to the court and request that his adult prison term be imposed, and that would require a new set of hearings at that time. But that's only if he fails to cooperate with the terms of his juvenile sentence.